I think the trigger for me, and this is when I realized quickly why I need to step away from working for someone and pursue my own agenda, was obviously a lot of businesses give you KPIs to meet, and if you hit KPIs, you get a bonus, for argument's sake. And I remember in my old role, they had a bonus structure. You'll get $8,000, Ramy, if you hit your KPIs and if the company hits all their profits. And I thought, okay, I'm 20 something years old. This sounds great. If I can get 8,000, beautiful, free holiday somewhere. And I ticked all the boxes, did a whole year, smashed all the KPIs, company hit record profits, got called into the state manager's office. And today, Ramy, congratulations, we're giving you $6,000.
All right, episode 1, here we go. Okay, so Ramy Attia, you are the founder and entrepreneur of Attia Photography, a business you started in 2010. You've shot over 3,500 weddings in that business, and more recently, as a serial entrepreneur, have started the business Heritage Only, becoming one of the trusted vendors, brokers, auctioneers of heritage plates around Australia. And to date, you've sold upwards of $25 million in license plate. So welcome to the DNA of an Entrepreneur podcast.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Glad to be here.
Great to have you here. How was your flight?
Flight was marvelous.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Sydney's treating you well?
Sydney is exceptionally better than Melbourne at this stage.
Yeah.
But I was here a few days before and missed a few exits and got off on the wrong ramps and took the tolls and took a detour around Sydney. But other than that, Sydney's nice.
Okay.
Enjoying
fantastic.
the weather.
I think that's an experience that everyone has to have with Sydney is
we learned once. We learned quickly.
Go over the harbour bridge incorrectly, all that sort of stuff. So, hey, Ramy, so to really understand your context and your story, it's important that we get a feel of what your childhood was like.
Okay.
So can you sort of share with us a little bit about what it was like up until the age of 18, your upbringing, family, where you grew up, a bit about the story?
All right. I would say the whole family, including uncles, aunties, cousins, my sister, very, very high achievers. Academically, very, very switched on, very smart.
Yeah.
So you would assume it would run through the bloodlines to me. It sort of may have missed a sibling or two. It might have missed me. But now, look, it's background is Egyptian. We're very big on allied health as the main sort of, this is where you should end up. So I remember really clearly, going into year 10, year 11, year 12, it was, pick subjects that's going to get you to, dentistry, medicine, or physio, pharmacy, anything that's allied health related. Didn't really have an interest in it. Wasn't what I enjoyed. I think partially because everyone else was doing that as well, it kind of put me off it. I think knowing, you're just one of another, member of that same community didn't feel special, didn't feel this is where I want to go. But look, my parents, they've done a great job. They did their best and tried to push me into into those fields. And I think even though the success would have been almost guaranteed had I pursued those fields, just given their backgrounds, I think there was more to it than just doing what was expected. Something that could challenge me, I think, in fields that are foreign to people I know and foreign to me as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, surely academically you did fine. You probably could have pursued those things if you wanted to.
Yeah. Look, no, academically I did well, but see, it's funny, even with even when it came to year 12, there's a stock standard approach of, if you're Egyptian, which is my heritage, you do physics, chemistry, you have to do specialist maths, you do maths methods, you do English, of course, and then you might do a language. That was kind of the stock standard approach. And I remember really clearly, I think it was in year 11, I had to obviously put the subjects in for year 12. and I didn't put specialists. And the teacher said, look, you're capable, you can do it. And I said, yeah, I get that, but why would I want to work my ass off, do specialists, stress out for the whole year? Yes, it gets scored up, but why not just do further maths, foundation maths? And they're like, well, no, that's not for you. That's for people who can't even do methods. And I said, yeah, but if I do further maths and blitz it, it's one less subject I need to study hard on. Plus I can guarantee hopefully a 49 or a 50 score in that subject will be banked, and then I can spend more of my time doing other subjects. And I remember against their will, I said, no, I'm doing further. I'm not doing specialist. And, you just sort of, you kind of just, you had to find your own way. People would guide you in terms of what they expected from you. But, even early on, I just found, well, just because it worked for everyone else or other people doesn't mean you had to follow in their footpath. And then, funny enough, I ended up getting the same ATAR as my sister, who blitzed, physics, chemistry, specialist, methods, all the normal subjects. And here I am doing my little hokey pokey subjects and still getting the same score. So we found we still got to the same destination, just different journeys.
Okay. And so like at a young age, where does that sort of strategic thinking come from? Where do you get that idea of like, I'm going to think of a different strategy and I'm going to come up with my own path?
I don't think I'm not a lazy person by any stretch. I'm quite active, but I don't like doing things inefficiently. And I find I apply that methodology to almost everything I do. If I can find a quicker way to get to the same outcome, I'll do it. There's no need to go around about 10 times if I can just go straight through it. Being efficient with time is probably what draws me to that. But yeah, I hope I'm not lazy. I don't consider myself as lazy, but I just want to find quicker ways to get to the same outcome. Okay,
cool. And so you finish school, and then you're obviously, like most of us millennials, where in Australia, the idea of finishing high school and not going to university, you kind of considered a bit of a dropout, or if you're not actually, especially in an ethnic culture. But obviously, if you haven't gone and pursued a trade or something like that, which of course would be the shame of some ethnic culture. Ultimately, how did you pick your course? What you obviously decided you weren't going to do healthcare.
Yeah.
And I think specifically the push was coming for dental.
Yeah.
So what did you actually go and do, and how did you come to that decision?
So I did have a huge interest in property development.
Where did that come from?
My uncle was a property developer. And I remember we had to do work experience. I think it was year 10 maybe, and I spent a week with him, and I enjoyed it. I loved the idea of just buying, a parcel of land, subdividing it, building townhouses on it, selling them, and then moving on to the next project. Something about that just felt. I like the investment part of it.
Yeah,
I really liked that, and so I pursued it. Obviously there is no. At the time anyways, there was no such course of, property development. So I ended up going to do a double degree in property and construction with commerce. And the commerce touched on, finance and economics and everything. And I majored in finance, but the property and construction was the element that was interesting. So I did that for 6 years and had a penultimate year at Mirvac, which was really good. I enjoyed that. Was made redundant in 2008 when the GFC hit. And then obviously that was okay because I still had to go back and do my final year of tertiary education. And then when I graduated, I ended up working for another company, also property development. But this one was more land subdivision. So I was there for 3 years, and basically we worked on a 2,500 lot hectare site getting carved up out in Williams Landing. And then it was from there I then pursued other interests. But property was always, it was unique.
Yeah.
It was unique.
How does someone who's studied property, construction, finance, commerce end up with a photography business? So sort of talk me through that journey. How did that come about?
Well, I would say the photography happened probably by luck. So my fiance at the time, Laura, she actually bought me a camera just as a gift. And this was already when I was working for the other company once I graduated. And I just enjoyed it. I was, I seemed to be good at it. I caught on to the technical aspects of it pretty quickly. And so while I was working Monday to Friday with the developer, I was dedicating weekends shooting mostly families to start off with. And then one of the families actually came back to me and said, hey, we loved what you did for the family shoot. Are you interested in doing our wedding? And I said to them, well, look, just to set your expectations, I'm not a professional. I'm not qualified. I don't have any credentials. But if you're okay to wear that risk, let's do it. And that couple was Brad and Lyndall. I remember them really well. That was, I think it was, 2010, around that period. Shot their wedding. I made some mistakes, but overall they were really happy. And then at that point I thought, okay, well, I enjoyed it. Maybe I can manage the two. Maybe I can work Monday to Friday in property and then manage weddings on weekends. So I did that for a while. Did that for about, probably say 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Found brides through eBay. So you could actually do eBay classifieds at the time. You paid $20, you put an ad up, and obviously if you're, getting couples off eBay, they're not glamorous weddings. They're simple. But you learn quite quickly, if you can make their weddings look amazing, it's easier to make $100,000 wedding look good.
And so, what was that sort of first year like? You're obviously still working full time, shooting on the weekends. Were you getting a wedding every weekend? Were you shooting events for free? Were you, what did that sort of early foundational year?
The charity stuff we did always for free. But when it came to weddings, look, from my memory, we did about maybe 30, 40 weddings in the first year. So pretty much most weekends you're working. And if on the off chance you're not working on a weekend, it might have been the weekend before you're doing a Saturday and a Sunday. Although that was challenging because, some weddings go from 8 hours to 15 hours and your whole day's blocked out. The challenging part was you still had to meet the couples before their event. So I'm working Monday to Friday. I'm in the office at 8 a.m. We're leaving the office at 5, and even then I'm getting frowned at because that's unacceptable. You got to stay till later, but they're not paying me for it. I then get back to our apartment at maybe 6 o'clock, and then I've got meetings back to back with brides in the cafe downstairs from 6 to 9 p.m. And just recently married, it was 2 full-time jobs effectively. But the only beauty with weddings was you could shoot on weekends when you were free. But although I was available, every time I went to a wedding, I'm saying no to something else, which is family, church, friends. The amount of events I missed out on, you after a while you get numb to it because you sort of see the big picture and where it might head to. But at the time, you kind of just accept it and move on.
Yeah, cool. So you're doing an 80-hour week basically in your mid-20s. Where does the drive come from to do that? At that time, is it the realization that I don't want to do this full-time job, or I don't want to work for someone else, I want to work for myself? Or is it just purely drive to see, can I make this work,
I reckon it's I reckon it's the latter. I reckon it's a matter of, I wonder if this can actually become something bigger than just a hobby.
Yeah.
I didn't start doing families and weddings with the instinct of I'm going to transition away from property and pursue this full time. I knew with property, as much as I loved the industry and I loved the concept of developing, what I didn't enjoy, and it wasn't a reflection on my employer, not entirely, but it was just working for someone else didn't feel right for me. I didn't like the notion of you've got to wear a suit. You got to wear a tie. You've got to be in the office at 8 a.m. And if you get there at 8:30, even though that's what the contract says, it looks like you're not working hard. And, your lunch breaks you got an hour. If you do an hour and 20 minutes, someone might pull you up on it. I didn't like the idea of someone controlling every aspect of Monday to Friday. And this is before kids. So you can imagine if you get a call from school now saying, hey, come get your kid. It's like, well, I can't.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I would be more advanced in the corporate ladder and they wouldn't care now. But back then you couldn't just walk out and leave. They'd be like, well, sorry, get someone else to pick the kid up.
Yeah.
And I just didn't like that restriction. again, photography, I fell into it, but I didn't pursue it with the intent of it becoming a full-time gig. It was only until, I think it was 3 years in actually, 3 years of my property role, I was looking at the income for both, how much I'm making on salary with property, and then I'm looking at how many weddings I've got booked for next year. And with weddings, you're fortunate enough to see 12 months out, roughly, how many bookings you got. And I thought, well, they're neck and neck. Worst case, I resign from property, I pursue weddings, and worst case, I'm still making the same money I'm making where I already am if I just kept my property role, because you can't do both. Like it gets to a point where this is a little silly. There's no time for family and everything else. So there's going to come, something has to give.
Yeah.
So I spoke to my wife. Laura was happy. She was okay with the idea. I didn't really tell the family about it until about 6 months after I already resigned. And I remember that conversation really well because we were at our house in Melbourne and we were having a family dinner. And I was already gone. I left the job many months ago. And we're sitting there and I think it was either dad or my mum just said, "Oh, so how's property? How's the job?" And I just said, "Yep, I resigned." And then I just walked out of the room. And I left Laura with them. I thought, I don't know what else to say. I don't know if I should tell them the truth that it happened months ago or if it just happened or if I'm thinking about it. But like, they weren't disappointed. I just didn't want them to worry about it.
Yeah.
For them, leaving their country of birth, coming here, establishing themselves, and then their son's going out, just picking up a camera and saying he's a photographer. It's concerning. Like, does this guy know what he's doing?
Yeah.
But look, they were okay with it. Okay. From my understanding, I think Laura handled that conversation pretty well. I wasn't there, but they were happy.
Nice.
I think. Well, they're happy now, anyways.
Okay, very good. Let's go back a step because you don't love the idea of your work telling you what time to turn up, what time to leave, put on a suit, a boss telling you what to do, but you go and start your own business that essentially requires tenfold effort of that, and you're okay with it.
100%.
So talk me through the psychology of that.
I think there's a big difference between doing what's expected of you and doing what you know is expected within the business, if that makes sense. I think the trigger for me, and this is when I realized quickly why I need to step away from working for someone and pursue my own agenda, was obviously a lot of businesses give you KPIs to meet, and if you hit KPIs, you get a bonus, for argument's sake. And I remember in my old role, they had a bonus structure. You'll get $8,000, Ramy, if you hit your KPIs and if the company hits all their profits. And I thought, okay, I'm 20-something years old. This sounds great. If I can get 8,000, beautiful. Free holiday somewhere. And I ticked all the boxes, did a whole year, smashed all the KPIs, company hit record profits, got called into the state manager's office. And today, Ramy, congratulations, we're giving you $6,000. I go, okay, cool. What about the 8,000? And he said to me, "Oh, no one ever gets the full amount." That was what he said. And I go, maybe, excuse my ignorance, but I thought as long as I hit my KPIs and the company does, surely I should be entitled to all of it. And apparently no. And it was at that point, like I was still appreciative that I got the 6,000, but it was kind of at that point where I didn't want my future, whether it's 40 hours working for someone else or 80 hours working for yourself, I just didn't want my future in someone else's hands because, since then so much has happened. Push comes to shove. We had the GFC and we had a really slow period in 2017 and 18. Then you had COVID. You kind of just go, well, at least I'm in control of my own destiny, to an extent. I can make decisions for my business that will guide me in the future. Whereas, if there's an issue, somewhere in America, that might mean I might lose my job here if I'm working for someone else. Yeah. And that part I'm not okay with, but I'm okay if something happens in America, I need to pivot my business in Melbourne. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Because I think 9 out of 10 times you'll probably make the right decision. But I just didn't like the idea of not having any control.
Okay, cool. the last question I sort of have on this topic of like transitioning from a full-time job to a business, and really it's a startup in its infancy, as you said, sort of equal income professionally and in the business. Is there an element of like, I've got greater potential than what this role or this job is utilizing in my skill set? Like a belief, an internal belief that actually I think I've got way more potential than what I'm wasting in this job?
I don't know if I would say I believed that I had more potential, because I know if I stuck in that role and gave it my all, I'm sure I would have done well in that industry as well. And I would have done, climb the corporate ladder and, follow suit. But for me, it was more just that there has to be more than this. To me, having that freedom to just get up and leave, having that freedom to take a 3-hour lunch. Like, again, I don't think I'm lazy, but I just don't like someone being in control of the situation you're in. So, but I've always found, even growing up, even year 12 or just, even early on, if I've put my mind to something, generally I found that I would achieve it, whether it's a score, whether it's in a certain milestone, physically or financially, or just, you kind of just get to a point where you go, it is possible. You just need to pursue it.
If you went back, 20 years now, or 15 years back to that time, if you were yourself again at that phase, or someone watching is thinking, man, I don't like the 9-to-5 grind, or I've got this great idea that I want to pursue, or I've actually already started something on the side and it's going all right and there's more potential to it. What would your advice be to someone who's not sure of taking that leap into that phase?
You know what? It's everyone has great ideas. Like the amount of people that come to me with these great ideas, and you go, well, pursue it. Like, go for it. Like, you don't need money for that. You just need a website and you need to start pushing it. I think the key to it, though, is you've got to surround yourself early on with the right people. And I don't mean that in terms of they're going to back you financially, or they're going to be your biggest vendor, or they're going to be your biggest, wedding reception venue, and they're going to refer the brides to you. But just, you need to position yourself where you're surrounded by people who back themselves as well. So that way, when you come up with a concept or an idea, it's not foreign to think, well, quitting my job is unreasonable. And I think that's the hardest part. Like, the reason I didn't have the conversation with my family is no one did that. No one would go to year 12 or, finish year 12, get a good score, go to uni, do really well, then go work full time. And then after all of it, throw it down the drain and then go pursue something that has no barriers to entry, no credentials, no qualifications, pull up a website and just start shooting. But the key to it is you got to set yourself up in a way where that becomes the norm. Like, taking risks is normal for you, and backing yourself and believing you can pull things off is normal. Like, I remember, I think I might have been 15. I don't remember how old I was exactly, but it was when the Xbox 360 came out. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And the PlayStation 3, they both came out at the same time.
That's right.
And I thought, you know what? I think there's an opportunity here. So I jumped on hotmail.com and I started getting emails. They're all for free. So I picked up Xbox 360 at hotmail.com, PlayStation 3 at hotmail.com, Xbox_360 at like just all these generic emails relating to these consoles. And then when they were launched, I threw them up on eBay and I started selling the emails for $20. And the best part was, at the end of the transaction, they gave me the $20. They're like, okay, so what now? I go, well, here's the password. Log in. Yeah. It's your password. It's your account. Do what you want. But like, I remember when I told a few people at the time, they're like, you're a muppet. Like, not in a, maybe it was condescending. I don't know, but it was framed with like, sure, you made $20 every time you did it, but that's not a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's like, well, if someone's prepared to pay $20 for something that cost me $0, that's completely normal. So I think, to the younger version, it's just put yourself in a position where risk taking is completely okay. Because I think if you surround yourself with people who are very conservative. They're not going to be the one, I guess, encouraging you to take that risk, because in a million years they would never take that risk.
It's funny, like, because I remember my brother did something similar where, you know, he on when eBay really launched, and like we're talking like 2004, 2005, 2006 years, where you know, social media is just launching, Facebook's essentially popped up now, eBay's this big, you know, sales platform, and I remember he bulk bought like 100 pairs of sunglasses.
I remember this.
He got a massive discount on buying this bulk. And they were all like, there was a couple of nice pairs, but they were all basically like the unsold, you know, products from previous seasons and whatever. But he put each one individually up on eBay. And it's so funny because it was like a small investment into a bulk purchase, which probably 5x'd on selling on eBay. And I think the thing is that people can taste that and experience that and go, all right, this strategy is working. What else can I do that could develop that into, you know, a genuine business or job? Heard of this guy recently because he's been really big on Instagram. I can't remember his name, something NYC. He's a jeweler in New York. And he launched his business on eBay. He was selling jewelry on eBay back in those early 2000s, but he stuck with it. And when you hear him talk, he is a like tortured soul. You can see he's been through all the pain of business, all the lies, the cheating, the staff who stole, the lied, the complaints from customers and whatever. And but he stuck with it long enough that it's turned into, you know, this huge global business. And he essentially is the go-to person for jewelry from celebrities, rappers, music artists, and that sort of thing. And so, like, I guess you've launched this business now, you're sort of 3 years in. It could be easy. I'm sure there's probably points where you go, what am I doing? Is this worth it? I'm missing out on birthdays, you know, holidays, bucks parties. I'm walking away from events that my friends are all having fun at. So what is that moment that you go, no, I'm going to keep pushing? What happens there? What leads to that moment?
Well, I think the good thing with weddings is once you take a booking, it's hard to pull out from.
Yeah.
So you are, you know, when you take bookings 24 months out in advance, you're committed. You can't pass it on. You can't, you know, you can't cancel on them last minute. Mate, there's heaps of sacrifices. But I think in the end, because every email I respond to, every phone call I make, every website update we do, every wedding expo, I'm standing there for, you know, 10 hours and not a single soul walks past. You know, these are, with the exception of wedding expos, they're all investments in my freedom in the future. Like if I play my cards right, if I can build up a team behind me, which a few years in, I think it was maybe 2 years in, we started to build up the photography team. Then we expanded into video. Then we offered albums and prints and everything else. Slowly, you then start taking a small step away from the business, but still very hands-on. But then it allowed me to free up, you know, my Friday, my Saturday, and my Sundays, and I didn't have to physically be at these weddings, shooting them. And like when you shoot a wedding on a Sunday, for example, for 15 hours, you miss out on a lot of things, but then you're also still recovering on the Monday. Like it knocks you out. Like when you're up on your feet for that long, and you're constantly smiling, you're constantly engaged, you're constantly trying to be charismatic. You need to bring the energy to the wedding for the couple. It's again, we loved it, I enjoyed it, but it's physically taxing. But I think as when you keep looking at what the big picture is, which is every step forward is another step in the right direction for the future, it was worth it. You know, I missed out on a few of our friends' weddings, a couple of bucks parties. You know, I won't get those times again, but the times I get now is I can be at school pickup every morning and every drop off and every pickup every day, Monday to Friday. And you can't put a price on that. Like I see other parents, not even, I see a lot of grandparents picking up their grandchildren because their mum and dad are working, which is completely fine. But without a doubt, I would easily take all the risks I took, 10, 15 years ago to be in the position we're in today.
Yeah, yeah. And so like talk me through that though, because is there that higher risk tolerance at that young age? You're married, there's no kids in the picture.
Yeah.
If you were still in this corporate job till today, wanting to pursue business, ambitious to maybe scratch that itch, do you think you'd have the same risk tolerance today as you did back in your 20s?
It's a hard one. I think the challenging part is, right, if you don't have that risk tolerance at the young age, what would change for you to have that risk tolerance at an older age when there is more on the table to lose? So to your point, I just got married. I had no kids. Mortgage is, reasonable. We're not buried in debt. So sure, take a punt. If it doesn't work out, 1 year's lost, I just go back to a corporate job. I think it comes down to you as an individual, yeah? I think if you are a I don't think risk-taking is the right word. It's just if you are prepared to back yourself and find ways to make things work that other people can't see possible, then I guess whether you are 20 and just got married or whether you're 40 and you got kids, you kind of get to a point where it's like, well, what am I doing this all for? Because whatever you're doing at any age, that will be the example you set for the children. And I think that's the critical part. Although I didn't pursue photography with the vision of, okay, I want to show my children this is how to work for yourself. I think if I was my age now and still working for someone else, and let's say I'm not enjoying it or I don't like the restrictions of freedom they're giving me, I don't want my kids to be in that position. But my kids won't know any better because they're going to look at their parents and go, well, mum and dad works Monday to Friday, 8 to 6, so that's the norm. Whereas if I show my kids, at a young age, the norm is you work for yourself and you are at 2 a.m. coding your own website and you are making phone calls on a holiday in whichever country you're in, then to the kids, that's the norm, But yeah, we're on a holiday, but I'm working for myself. If I was working for someone else, this holiday wouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
And it's not just for the perks of a holiday. Like that's trivial, but it's just more, again, to me, it's really the school pickups and drop-offs. Like you only have so many years to be with your children. If you're not parenting them or if you're not present, someone else will parent them for you. And I don't want someone else teaching them things that I might not like or agree with. But more importantly, I want to teach them what I know and what's worked for me. So when they come out of, year 12, uni doesn't have to be the only option.
Yeah.
You can do anything. You want to pick up a trade, pick up a trade. You want to open up a candy shop, go open up a candy shop. Like don't fall to that constraint of, well, this is expected from me because everyone else is doing it. Go pursue something that you're interested in.
Yeah.
And imagine having 6 more years of that skill under your belt, opposed to studying, then working for corporate, then 10 years later realizing this isn't what I want.
100%. I mean, going back, we said this a bit earlier today, but like the guys that I know who did a trade, who finished school at 17, 16, 17, went and did an apprenticeship, built
massive
a business.
head start.
These guys have absolutely killed it by the time they're 30.
Yeah.
And then now they're off the tools operating a really successful business where they have that flexibility and time with their kids now and their partner and able to go on these sort of holidays. So tell me, you're a single operator, you're shooting all the weddings, you're working in the business all the time. How do you transition out of that role and how long did that take before you've got a team of photographers, team of videographers, and you're able to sort of get off the tools?
Yeah.
How long did that take? Because I think a lot of guys that start businesses or want to go and be in business, they have this idea that I want to do this because I'm going to have all the time in the world, okay? without realizing that the overnight success took 10 years and it was a grind. You like paint the picture of what really you signed up for, the pain and the tolerance of that pain to get to a point where you actually do have that flexibility and freedom.
So I was probably, even up until COVID hit, I would still be shooting probably at least 50% of our weddings, which when you're doing, hundreds of weddings a year, most weekends were still busy. And then we still need to meet couples as well, which was usually during the week, because during the week, everyone was still working in the city. So that worked, which then obviously meant weekends I was available to shoot. It wasn't until COVID hit, we had to transition away from Ramy being one of the primary shooters to Ramy now becoming the safety net in case someone had to isolate. Because at that time, if you tested positive for COVID, you were out for 7 days, which was very challenging, because once we got through the lockdowns, which that's a story on itself, we were shooting weddings every single day for 6 months straight. And every single day there was more than 2 or 3 weddings. And then you get to the weekends, there was maybe 20 weddings, 30 weddings across 3-4 days. And then if one of the photographers was isolating, someone had to step in. And then because you're running a team of, 7 photographers and 7 videographers, you're hoping at the time only one of them is sick, which isn't going to be the case. You might get 2-3 of them who are sick for a period of time. So you need 2 or 3 substitutes to jump in and fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So I think, look, the transition was already happening before COVID hit. I was going down from 80 weddings a year to 70 to 60. I think at 2020, I was down to about 50 or thereabouts, slowly trying to not get out of it, but just reducing the workload to then free up more time for post-production stuff. But then when COVID hit, it completely flipped the business upside down. So we were forced to put myself on the sidelines because we couldn't justify paying, 3 photographers a full-time rate just to be there on standby. So I was effectively pushed to the side. The challenging part at that time was, the business was built around me, and the concern was, will people still want to proceed with a booking if they know they can't have me as their photographer? And I wish I could say it was a decision we made, but we had no choice. We had to tell couples, you can book, but we're not going to guarantee it's going to be Ramy. Or if anything, there's a high certainty it won't be Ramy. But if you trust me, because you're meeting with me, you trust me, you trust the brand, and you read the other, 900 reviews online and you like all that, that should be where you bench your expectations on what to expect from us.
Yeah. And so we'll go back to the COVID bit in a second, but the business today, how does it operate completely independent of you shooting weddings? There's a team out, unpack that for us.
Yeah, so now look, the team are, and I don't say this from a biased perspective, but the team are very talented. Like their talent far surpasses any point in my photography career. Like they're very good at what they do. Yeah. So when I have couples coming in, and if there's any hesitation, I just tell them, guys, read the reviews and here's a whole portfolio. Like there's nothing to be concerned about. Now it's quite easy because couples don't necessarily come for me. They come for the brand. And the brand is well established, well known. There's almost 1,000 reviews on Google, Easy Weddings, and Facebook, and they're all 5 stars across the board. And the reviews mention each of our photographers and each of our videographers. It's not one individual that shoots 90% of our weddings. The whole team is. We don't randomly select them. We do pick team members based on culture, venue, and personality. But the key to that selection is I need to meet with them first. So obviously when COVID hit, a lot of couples never came in and met with us. They just booked straight away online. But it's imperative we do a pre-wedding meeting with each of them. So I get to see them face to face. I get to not profile them, but I get a sense of what's important, what's not important, who I think will click with them on the day. Because I think the experience they have with their team is more critical than the product they get. And I actually say this to couples. If we give you bad photos, but you love the experience, you're going to love the photos we give you. But if you have great photos, but you have a bad experience, photographers rude, they're not well presented, they swear at an auntie maybe, or they don't consider any of your ideas.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how beautiful the photos are, you're still going to walk away going, I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
And we reinforce that. Like we tell couples, this is why it's important for me to meet with you so I can pair you up with the right duo, whether it's photography and video or just photography on its own, so you have a good experience. And the trust is there.
Yeah.
You know, we don't look in the end, because I'm still the one returning their phone calls or returning their emails if there's a problem. They feel that Ramy's still in full control, even though his team is out there shooting it.
Yeah. So give me the split, the percentage split, working in the business versus on the business.
In the business is probably now 10%.
Yeah.
A lot of what we do is automated. A lot of the SMSs, emails, directing, everything now is pretty much automated, but personalized, which is really important. On the business is more about just maintaining relationships, whether it be with reception centers, other wedding vendors that we get referrals from as well. We launched a referral program about 18 months ago, where when couples book with us, it's almost an incentive to book with us, where if you book with us as a couple and then refer another couple to us and they also proceed with a booking, we give the original couple $500 cash. And it's not, $500 credit to an album or a print or any of that. It's just bang, here's $500. And we know our cost of acquisition for couples is, $300-400. But mate, if we can get a couple out there talking about us to every single person they know, which is already happening organically, but now we're just incentivizing them and we are rewarding them for it. It just makes it so much easier for us not to worry so much on Meta and trying to be in front of people at wedding expos and so forth. So it allows us to adopt more ideas, having the time away in the business and working on it instead. And then it just means more bookings to give to our team.
Yeah. And I think it's such an important transition as a leader in a business, that you free yourself up from the nitty-gritty tasks that, while you're small and nimble, are easy. They're just the responsibility that you take on as the operator. But as you try and grow scale, they often become the inhibitor to your creativity, to your ideas, to the impact that you can have. I remember I used to have a mentor who he used to say this saying, and he used to refer it specifically to marketing. It's like starting a fire. You start off with kindling and small little wood chips. You throw heaps in there to start the fire, but they burn out really quickly and they don't really make a big impact. But then as the fire's lit, you start to throw sticks and they catch on, and then bigger sticks and then logs. Yeah. And one log keeps the fire burning like crazy for hours.
And that one log could be just one decision you make.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that any efficiency that you can gain by having the time for that creativity, whether it's an innovative campaign, a referral program, but also developing someone else within your business who maybe replicates you or understands the way you operate and can deliver that service. That leader can then exponentially help you grow the business, because now it's multiple people who represent the brand.
And the challenging part is, it's easy in hindsight to believe all of that once you've done it. But in the moment, you're looking at it going, well, if I relieve myself of these duties, can I trust someone else to take over those roles that I do so well? That's the challenging part, because then, sure enough, let's say I get someone to take over. If I have more time for some thinking, some decision making, then you can see the bigger picture of, yes, freeing up that time has allowed me to do this instead. But in the short term, it hurts because you're not guaranteed that success.
Yeah.
You walking away from the business or taking a big step away from it, in some cases, some people might get it wrong and that transition completely falls apart.
Yeah.
But I think the key to it is, to your point, the kindling. You start off with small sticks, then you work your way up to logs. Never at one point did I say, before COVID, even we were transitioning towards me not shooting as often, did I ever say, okay, 2017, I'm not shooting anymore. Like, that's too big of a risk to take. It's like throwing the log on when you just started lighting up the fire.
Yeah.
You just got to give it time to nurture. And I think, well, in my experience, the decisions came, it was almost obvious. You know, you get to that point, you're like, well, it's pretty clear what the decision has to be. I might not like the decision. I might not want to do it, but from a business perspective, it was an obvious answer. Yes, you now need to transition slowly, or you need to pivot from here to there.
Yeah. No, I love what you said there, because I think this is where we sort of started this specific discussion about this idea that like business from the outside to someone when you're successful looks like, man, I could do that. Yeah. That's easy. He's just lucky. It was timing, right? And I think ultimately sometimes people do go and ambitiously take the plunge, which like good on you. But the thing is that they think that in a year or two, they'll just be sitting at home while they've got all these people working on them. And they don't actually realize the second you take the foot off the pedal, even if you've got the slightest bit of momentum in your favor, it all comes crumbling down quite quickly. Like, I mean, you're running Attia Photography from 2010 to 2020, probably like any good business after 10 years really does allow the owner to start to pull back, step back. So tell me a little bit about COVID, because, you know, just like our industry in healthcare, and ours was specific and a bit niche, you know, obviously COVID, social distancing, Victoria becomes the most locked down city in the world. Yep. No one's, you've got these underground weddings going on and these venues that are letting people not post on social media and whatever.
No one gets caught.
But now you're almost running an underground business, just trying to make ends meet. So what does that feel like? You've run a business successfully 10 years. It's actually probably at a point where you should start scaling and automating and stepping back.
Yeah.
And you take this huge plunge. Like, give me the experience, the quantity.
It's funny you say all that, right? So going back to how I didn't want to work for an employer, it was because they were in full control. I think when COVID hit, it was the first time in 10 years I felt like I had no control.
Yeah.
And it was completely at your future in this business, this industry, completely dependent on government pulling out policy that whatever it is, whether you agreed with it or not, it just completely stuffed everything up for us. So I remember so this was in March 2020. COVID was already around. America started enforcing restrictions. And about a week before lockdowns kicked in Melbourne, which I think was the 22nd or 23rd of March, I remember seeing restrictions being applied to gatherings in America. I was at a soccer game playing and I pulled up my phone and we were worried. We didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
And weddings were still shooting. Everything was still normal. But a week before, when I was at this soccer game in Greensboro, get this message that Trump, or was it Trump? I don't know who the president was, but
yeah, it was Trump.
Was it Trump?
Yeah.
They said